Howdy, folks. We had a trade in the NHL today, but we have some actually a couple trades. One of a minor variety, but Russ has something to start the show off with, which is usually not hockey related.
Yeah, this weekend we're going to have a Supermoon, and so as always, just to satisfy my curiosity, I look up when is the best time to view the Supermoon, and it looks like the best time is at 3:45 a.m. on Monday. I got to tell you.
What time was it again?
3:45 a.m.
I'm not staying up that late.
No, it's not about staying up that late. It's about getting up that early. You could see it when the sun is down on Sunday night, but it won't be like the best. The best time will be 3:45 a.m. And so, why is the Supermoon? Why are these things always at weird hours? Why can't they be at hours that are like normal business hours? That's what I'm asking.
Just to inconvenience us, of course.
It just seems that way.
Typical. It's like
no special glasses required for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say it's like an eclipse can't be that you just look at the damn thing. You had to look at it through a mirror. Yeah. And if you were an idiot like a certain politician, you stare up at it and you risk getting blind. But
this one won't be back until 2034. So the one I did see one good, really, yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I thought Supermoons happened every year.
No, not like this. Apparently not the percentage of this.
I've seen a lot of Supermoons in my time.
Oh, okay. Whatever. Here we go.
Sorry about that, folks.
It'll be 2034, even for Canada. But the basic point is I did see something interesting. They said, look, if you're going to take a picture of it, take a picture of it in context of something else, some other landmark, so you could really see it, because otherwise it's just going to look like another moon. So it was a good. You'll see it brighter if you do it with something else as a backdrop.
So fly to Egypt and take it with a backdrop of the pyramids or something like that.
Or go to the ankle bar, Mike, and take it with the ankle bar as the backdrop.
Yeah, great. I could take it in comparison to the guy who got murdered in there. Sorry. Wait a second. Well, it did happen.
Let's go with the show.
Yeah, okay. Well, hey, just in perfect time, Eck is here. We're live, Eck. We are live.
And I'm Eckley, and you're watching the HockeyBuzzcast.
We haven't even started the introduction. Come on.
We're almost there.
I'm all right. I'm fine. Don't worry about it.
We're talking about the Supermoon if you want to add your geeky twist to it.
Oh, I love the Supermoon.
Do you know what the Supermoon is?
Absolutely. It brings out the power of the wickets.
Ooh.
Witches and wickets. Yep, that's definitely, there's no question. The Supermoon is a moon when the moon is actually closer to the Earth by a little bit, which makes it look somewhat larger. But
it's always at an inconvenient time, Eck. It's going to be 3:45 a.m. on Monday morning is the best time to see it.
You really are. Your life really has reached cynicisms of high levels, Russ, when you're pissed off at the moon for being inconveniently super.
He's reaching my level of
bitterness. I could set my DVR to the NASA channel and see it.
He's reaching my level of bitterness, Eck.
It's just have to DVR the moon. If you DVR the moon, you're fine.
You DVR the NASA channel.
Well, it's like watching that damn Yule log on WOR back in the day that they had for like 12 hours in a row on Christmas Eve.
You don't DVR the NASA channel. Like, set your alarm, get out, wave at the moon.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait,
go back to bed.
Can I say one quick?
Let me ask you, what is the Canadian equivalent to NASA, or did you guys just give up on space travel altogether?
No, Canadian Space Program.
I've never heard of it.
No, they have
astronauts up to the International Space Station.
Yeah, one guy who sings Major Tom. Really?
Yeah, Commander Hadfield.
Yeah, he's a
legend. He's got his own reality TV show now on how to be an astronaut.
Yeah, no,
all right, that's good. I didn't know that.
They've never been to the moon, but they've been to Winnipeg.
Yeah. Same in about the middle of January. Maybe a little warmer on the moon.
Same thing.
Or a Jenner Lake above.
I saw it was just snowing in Winnipeg like yesterday, I think.
Yeah, we got about a centimeter. Sorry, that's half an inch.
Yeah. I was gonna say don't speak a foreign language, man.
Yeah.
Start the show, Eck.
All right, sure, why not? All right, here we go. This is 30 days, half November, April, June, and November. It's the 30th day of November. All right, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's Thursday, November 30th, 2017.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Peter Tessier.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
That went smooth.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching the Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday. It is time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world.
Damn, I wish I had sound effects.
And today's been kind of crazy. Sorry, it's been a nutty day. Rumor chart day here at Hockey Buzz Central, which is always a fun day. It is up now, apparently. It just went up in the last minute or so. So I'm going to be, I should be posting about it, but we're going to make it, this is an exclusive for the podcasters only. So we're going to have to, after the podcast, I'm going to put it out there. But right now, only you guys can watch it or see it because you guys are the only ones who know it exists at this point. It's going to be, right after this show, I'm going to be adding a bunch of names for the next hour. So that's kind of a fun time to go to the Hockey Buzzcast as well, the rumor chart, because as I enter a rumor, whatever the first name is on the rumor chart is always, there. It's kind of like a preview of the rumor chart. So it'll change a lot so between 4 and say 4:30, you might want to refresh. You can check out probably a lot of things for free and see if you like it.
Easier to see than the Supermoon, clearly.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Much more convenient than the Supermoon. Also more expensive than the Supermoon because it is $19 a year for the rumor chart, part of our season ticket thing, which gets you a lot of other things on Hockey Buzz too. But I'll get into what the rumor chart is at some point down the line. It's really just speculation for me based on who I've talked to. So I can put some things in there that I can't necessarily put on the blog, but it sort of implying it by giving higher percentages to other things because I was told things off the record. But at the same time, I will never not write all my rumors on, in my blog. So that's what you'll see, rumors you'll see there. So that'll always be free. But there you have it. So that's my little pitch for now. We didn't have a trade today. So
yeah, let's talk about that big Adam Cracknell for Peter Holland deal.
No, and I do appreciate
There's a reason for this trade, though.
I really do appreciate the trades that happened today because, there's nothing better for business than a trade happening on rumor chart day. So yeah. I think I wanted to thank you guys for making this trade happen. And one of the guys that was on the rumor chart last night was Sammy Vatanen. I'd love to say that he was completely, going to New Jersey, but he wasn't. But it was one of the teams that he could have been going to because there's a couple teams that have been definitely in the running for defenders. But New Jersey's one of them. And this set a price tag. I was talking to people after this happened. This for Vatanen, for what they had to give up in New Jersey to get Vatanen, pretty high.
No, I see. I don't agree. I don't agree.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Peter, you go first.
I don't think it's that high a price.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. Here's what I think.
Go ahead.
Henrique is a very good player. I'm not sure he figured into future plans with this coach, though. He already had been moved off center to the wing, and I think that it just felt like defensively he wasn't strong enough to sort of be in this new group. So when Jesper Bratt came in and he looked great, and Hischier came in looking good, all of a sudden a guy like Henrique, and they traded for Johansson, he became expendable. And so this is a great guy to be able to dangle on the market. Blandisi is just, a spot filler. He'll be a guy that goes up and down. But right now Anaheim needs bodies. Vatanen is a top 4 guy now for them for a while. Now they'll hope to re-sign him, but they at least get 2 years of term out of him or a season and a half. That's pretty good.
It is good. But Henrique has he really fallen out of your favor that quickly?
Not out of my favor. I think he's fallen out of favor with the club.
Well,
I think top 6 forward. I think you've got a top 6 forward.
I want to get what Peter thinks of this, but okay, just looking at Henrique's career, 51, 43, 43, 50, 40. He's a 40 to 50 point scorer, which is good, which is, top 6, probably second line guy. He's versatile. He can play center. He can play wing, which with Anaheim's current situation, that means he plays center until Getzlaf and Kessler come back, and then he moves to the wing. But you look at this, Ek, and you see that he's he's got another year left in his contract. He's a good player. He's in his mid-20s. They didn't give up a ton for a top 4 defenseman who was locked up for 2 more years at less than $5 million. I think this, not only is this a good deal for New Jersey, I think the ball was dropped here on the team by the teams that have been out there that we've been talking about for months that have been looking for top 4 defensemen, one of them being the Toronto Maple Leafs, where they, that price, are you kidding me? With a backlog of forwards that they have, and they didn't make that deal. And I'm sure because Darren Drager reported that this deal was out there that they were negotiating for 10 days. You had to know that most general managers in this league knew what was going on and that he was on the market, because it does them no good just to keep that to themselves between them and New Jersey. The whole point of trading Vatanen is getting the most in return. So it had to have been out there. And for the Leafs and other teams out there that are looking for defense, not to step up bigger than that, I think that's the ball being dropped by those teams.
And if you look at one of the other rumors too, that was potentially Anaheim having influence in Matt Duchene. They've done a very good job of not getting into that payment for Duchene, which is still, a questionable deal at this point in time, considering also his contract status is coming up as well. But here's the thing. Look at the big picture of what Shiro's just done. He's turned Larson into Hall, and he's turned Henrique into Vatanen. And who would you rather, what tandem would you rather have? Right? Like, I'm leaning to what he's done, particularly with the team he has. The Devils are a fairly fast and dangerous team, and now they've got an offensive defenseman, generate shots. He's going to push the puck. He's not strong defense. The defensive side of thing, the shot suppression, that's not his A game. That's not the biggest part of his game that you're getting. It's the other side, and that's the way the league's going. I think it was a very shrewd move, and it gives Shiro some time to do some other stuff in terms of the next contract. He's got him at 2 more years. It's very savvy. I think it was. Yeah,
you're right. For him, it's 2 more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think it's a brilliant move that is going to help there's going to be a hiccup here. There's no question. You can't just take Henrique out and assume he's going to be replaced, but you are getting the addition of an offensive defenseman that's going to help you in other ways that you didn't have before. Right. I think give it some time, and Devils are looking happy with this. It was a necessary move for Anaheim, but the Devils, I think, are the ones that come out on top longer term. And
they waited until Travis Zajac came back, so they had reinforcements up the middle. And if you look, and we talked about this with Anaheim, if you look at their situation, the Fowler deal kicks in next year. The Manson deal kicks in next year. Brandon Montour's deal, his entry-level deal, ends this year, so they're going to be paying him probably enough money to lock him up on probably a 4 to 6 year deal. So they really didn't have the room to keep Vatanen, but I don't, and maybe because their injury situation, they needed to make their deal now. But to X's point, I think that this sets the market low when it comes to defensemen, because you just set the market for a top 4 defenseman for basically a top 6 forward who's got a year left in his contract and a third-round pick.
I don't know if it's low in that sense, Mike, because
it's more reasonable.
He's not a superstar offensive defenseman. No,
but it's more reasonable than we suspected. I mean,
it's better than Taylor Hall for Adam Larson.
Yes.
Again, I'm not getting into that whole thing.
Well, no, I will. This makes Peter Chiarelli look completely stupid.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. No.
It adds fuel to the fire that's burning around Chiarelli for sure. But the market changed. Like, the market's changed. Things are different, and it just, I think what Mike, I agree with you, not to that level, but I think what it does is it shows a lack of creativity on Chiarelli. He doesn't show that he couldn't look at a bigger picture and extract more or something. It just said it showed a limited vision of what he could get for Taylor Hall. And no, we don't have to go backwards, but looking at Taylor Hall and being on the Devils and now adding this, I like what Shiro's building.
Well, sure, we all like what Shiro's done because he started with nothing. But the point is, from Chiarelli's perspective, everybody knew he needed a defenseman. The Devils didn't need a defenseman. Like, they could use one, but
the Ducks needed a center.
Edmonton was desperate for one.
Yeah, and Peter's right. The Ducks needed a forward.
They're not playing great hockey right now.
Yeah, they won last night. They beat St. Louis 3-2, and they barely held on.
Yeah,
and
they're down a lot of guys. They are.
Yeah, and the indication is Kessler's not going to be back till Christmas, and Getzlaf may not be back until January. So they need to bridge a gap of about a month, And you can't do that with Chris Wagner as your number 2 center.
And they need to keep on pace too. They can't fall too far out now. This is the critical time.
Right.
Because if you're on the outside looking in by January, it's a tough crawl. But also look at the bigger picture with Anaheim. How big's their window? Kessler, Perry, Getzlaf. It's
closing. It depends how you look at it. Like, they have other guys in their system, and they have a defense. So when those guys go, there might be a year or two where they're sort of retooling. But it's not like Gibson's old. It's not like their defensemen are old. So I think they'll only go through a year or two of it being a rebuilding.
You know what I think it is, Peter? It's the same window that San Jose had. It's not the young guys like Couture. I mean, Pavelski's not young, but he's younger. Pavelski, Hurdle. It was Thornton and Marlowe. It was the ability to be able to compete with those guys contributing, and they got to the Stanley Cup final. With the Ducks, it's how long will Kessler and Getzlaf and Perry be there to be a supplement to the guys that stepped forward last year, which were Raquel and Silverberg and Richie and Kasha. They have that second level of player. But the thing is, you have to have those older guys be able to provide support.
Right.
And that window might be a year or two before. Now, the thing is, their contracts are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And eventually they may have to dispose of one of those players, Perry or Getzlaf, because they're making over $8 million.
At some point, somebody will go.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to Henrique for a second, because I'm sorry I got cut off by the internet there. I love these. So trying to get a better connection here, so hopefully it's a little bit better.
It's better.
Hashtag net neutrality. Go ahead, X. Sorry.
Ooh, that's a sensitive subject.
Yeah, that's a really sensitive subject around here. All right, so Henrique, okay, a finalist for the Rookie of the Year. Let's not forget how good he was in the playoffs for New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
When New Jersey had their run to the Stanley Cup Finals, Henrique was phenomenal.
Yeah, he's a good player, but he has tailed off the last few years.
He has tailed off, but that's also the Devils have tailed off. I mean, the players around him have tailed off.
Well, I mean, not this year.
Heck, I'm not saying that Henrique is not a quality player. He is. That's not in dispute.
He's still very young.
Yeah, right, and that's not in dispute. I think he's a good. Top 6 forward. He's only 20. He's 27 years old, so he's not over the hill. He's going to be a contributor for the Ducks. What I'm saying is that the price of defensemen over the last, I would say, 18 to 24 months has been so elevated. I mean, we're going to talk about Trouba. This doesn't do any favors to Kevin Cheveldayoff when it comes to Jacob Trouba, because now you can say, okay, well, look at what New Jersey gave up for Vatanen. You can't use the comparative now of Hall for Larson as the market setter for a defensive trade.
Well, here's the other thing. He only has 14 points so far this year, and he's a -6. And I'm telling you, he right now does not fit in the plan of the John Hines system.
Right. No, in John Hines' system, he's not working. I agree. And he will work much better in Anaheim's system.
Yes,
that's much closer to the system he played in when he was a rookie in New Jersey. Right. The same kind of system. And Vatanen will play better in New Jersey, because this is definitely a situation where Vatanen he's a run and gun defenseman, and he's gonna love the way New Jersey plays. Yeah. So that's gonna be fun for him too. That's all gonna work out pretty well for both the players. But I will say one more thing too about this is Taylor Hall, okay, who has, is such a good guy, and has now been screwed again. Like, essentially, I could not forget talking to him right after the first time he was in Philly, right after the trade when he moved to the Devils, and and the guy was obviously still messed up from the whole Edmonton thing, and he let that be known for a while. He was messed up by the Edmonton thing, and he wanted to stay there for a long time. And he said, well, the only saving grace to me, and he said this off the record, but he said it to a lot of people too, the only saving grace to me is that, I'm getting back with my buddy Henrique, who had played for with the Spitfires, in Windsor, and that he was so looking forward to that. That was the only thing that made New Jersey, even, like he said at the time, it was going from this incredible situation with, David coming in and all this great stuff, and then going to New Jersey, a team that was a complete rebuild, where he'd already been through a rebuild in Edmonton. And his best buddy there, Adam Henrique, now moved. I mean, I think that's a factor. I mean, it's just but still, it's something. I mean, I think it's something. I do. I think.
Go ahead, Peter.
I was just saying, it's a business. They get over that stuff.
I know, but it's I don't know. Taylor Hall's been through a bit now. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the other trade just for a second, and Peter could definitely shed light because he's seen a lot of Cracknell. But like, this was a necessary trade for the Rangers because of a couple different things. In the offseason, the Rangers were, in play for Marla, right? They didn't get him, and the Leafs got him. So that's one thing. So when they didn't get him, they started the season off short down the middle. Now Zibanejad is out with a concussion. They knew that. He got hurt pregame before the last game.
Sure.
So Jeff Gordon got on the line, and he at least got a guy that has been a fourth-line center in the NHL.
Sure.
Right. And look, and he's pretty good on faceoffs too.
Mm-hmm.
Plays a little PK, it's fine. So, but right now, I mean, you're looking at, I just posted it earlier, Kevin Hayes is the top center. They're putting Desharnais as the second center, Miller as the third center,
wow,
and Boone Nieves, who's a rookie, in the fourth line center until Holland gets there. So they were desperate to get another center, especially with Zibanejad out, because they know points are at a premium, and so they at least got something. As far as Cracknell, he just didn't fit in. Now, I think for Montreal, if they were looking for a guy that was at least going to add some toughness and grit to the lineup, they did that. But will they even play him? Montreal buries everybody, so I don't know.
He's in Laval, and I actually think the motivation for this deal, Russ, is the fact that Holland was signed to a 2-year deal, Cracknell was signed to a 1-year deal,
so saving money.
So they're saving money. And I would be surprised if Cracknell even cracks the Habs lineup.
Why is Montreal? You're saying Montreal's trying to save money here?
No, I think it's just the fact that
they just wanted to get out of a contract. Maybe.
Right,
Holland
had an extra
year early.
Yeah,
it's the contract limit. I don't know how many contracts Montreal has now, but
right,
close to the 50 cap. But maybe they've got some things where they say we've got to start shedding something early because they've got something.
Yeah,
right.
They signed Holland to challenge for the fourth center job in Montreal. He clearly didn't do that. He was up for a little while. He didn't. They sent him back down to the AHL, and that they may have come to the decision that, okay, he's not going to fit in with us, so we'll be stuck with his contract for an extra year. So maybe we can make a deal where they need a center. They need center help in the short term, and we get out of the deal 1 year earlier. So that's probably what the motivation was.
Yeah.
Now, Aka, what I want to touch on is what you touched on in your blog, like sort of the ripple effect of Vatanen. Go ahead if you want to.
The ripple effect. I also just added Marc Staal to the river chart too as we were doing this because I got a little tidbit on him as well. Marc Stahl's another one. There's players out there that are.
So tell me what you have on Marc Staal. That's interesting. Go ahead.
Okay, so Marc Staal, as you know, Russ is. I think there's. I mean, you're the Rangers better than I do, but I get the impression that there's a divide within the Rangers organization on Marc Staal, that there are two different sides of it.
I think there's only a financial divide. I think they all like him as a guy and a player.
Right.
It's similar to what they were going through with Girardi.
Yeah. No, there've been. Yeah, I think that is true, and I think that they are definitely involved in trying to make a trade for a defenseman. And I don't think they're going to do anything with Marc Staal until they make a trade for a defenseman. But I think they would like to. And I've heard a couple names involved. I'm trying to bring up my notes right now to tell you exactly what I heard here. But the trade, what I just put on are the two teams that I heard that are most interested in Marc Staal. Now, I still have Staal at 50% to the Rangers, and I probably should make that 55 because I think overall I still think he's going to be.
I agree with that.
But the two teams I heard were, oddly enough, and it's funny because we have Peter on here, but one of them is Winnipeg and one of them is Colorado as the two teams that had interest in Marc Staal. Colorado more so than Winnipeg, but that's what I had heard to this point. I had actually heard Nugent mentioned with the Rangers today when I called him.
I heard somebody was messing with their mic. I couldn't.
Oh, that might have been me.
Nugent mentioned with the Rangers. Now, I'm not talking about a major deal, but you do get yourself a little bit more of a defensive defenseman there, maybe shot blocker type guy.
I could see that before, but here's the thing: I don't think Stahl's going to get moved this season unless the Rangers completely fall out of it.
Yeah.
Now, he could move at the draft, though. I agree with that.
Yeah, but the overriding factor here is, I mean, Staal is essentially a defensive defenseman. He's not exactly fleet of foot. And the reason that there was a buyout for Girardi over a buyout for Staal is because Stahl's got 3 years left at $5.7 million. And so, you're talking about if they make a trade, they're probably having to retain probably a couple $1 million on that.
Yeah. You're doing it with Colorado, maybe not. Like
maybe not with Colorado.
Yeah.
He's also 30, and I just watched Colorado for the first time closely last night. Colorado's got a lot of speed.
Yeah.
They're not going to bring in Staal to change what they're doing there. Something's working there.
Well, they might bring in Staal, Peter, because they have two water bugs on the blue line in Barry and Girard, and they do need the stay-at-home guy to sort of counter those guys because they're defensively neither one of them is great. You do need that stay-at-home defenseman to counter the more offensive guy. It's just the contract. I mean, if Staal was making $3.5 to $4 million, I think there'd be a lot of people interested. But I think the Rangers are probably, to get out of that contract, they're probably going to have to take a haircut on it.
I mean, and again, before everybody jumps on the contract thing, there was a time where Staal was one of the best shutdown guys in the league.
Sure.
And everybody, even in the advanced stat world, agreed with that. Then he had the eye injury. And definitely his speed, I still think, is good enough. Mm-hmm. It's better than what Dan Girardi's speed was, but it is all about the price.
Yeah, no, it's definitely all about the price. I'll throw another name out from the rumor chart, too, that I heard involved with the Rangers, and that was the name of Peter Mrazek. Now, we had talked yesterday about this a little bit, the Rangers needing a backup, perhaps.
I could see it.
Not being thrilled with a guy that you're familiar with.
Yep.
Peter, in Padlick. But, Peter Mrazek's name has been mentioned a couple times with a couple different teams. The Penguins are definitely – I heard definitely the Penguins have talked to Detroit about Mrazek. Now, Detroit is in the playoffs right now.
You may want to add this team to the rumor chart when it comes to Mrazek if Mrazek is out there, and that's the Edmonton Oilers because
they are. Oddly enough, with the Oilers actually on the rumor chart as well, Mike.
That's great because Cam Talbot was just put on the IR today, and Chiarelli came out and said he's out for 2 weeks, but it could be longer.
Yeah.
So when you're saying that, that's like Matt Murray. When you're saying 2 weeks and it could be longer, then you're saying a month.
For the goalie, it's usually longer.
Right. It's an upper body, so we don't know what exactly it is. But, tonight against Toronto, Laurent Brossoit is starting, and I don't even know who the hell their backup is that they called up from the AHL.
Another name that's been bounced around on goalies, too, is Michael Hutchinson on Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. And basically, I think Kevin Cheveldayoff recently didn't even deny that he's taken phone calls on him.
For Kevin Cheveldayoff, that's something.
Yeah, and it's pretty known. It's been talked around the league. Hutchinson started with the Jets last year. He did not play well. He's playing for the Moose. He hasn't been called up.
It spoke volumes, Peter, when Mason got hurt that they called up Comrie and they didn't call up Hutchinson.
It did. And I think, it's a good chance for Comrie to get that top-level experience that he hasn't had yet. Hutchinson's had 3 shots at this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's had 3 go-arounds. He hasn't been able to string games together other than a brief period in the fall of 2014. And that was it. And, now they've moved on from him. He's on the last year of a deal that was explicitly signed so they could be compliant with the expansion draft. But if they can get a 6th-rounder for him, they might as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think they can get a little more, actually.
That may be the way that Pittsburgh's going to go, but because all the indications are right now they're not interested in giving up a ton for a goaltender, and they're basically going to take somebody off the scrap heap like Eddie Lack or Hutchinson or there's a couple Andrew Hammond.
Miami will get one more go somewhere now because of all these injuries.
Sure, of course. That one good game for Montreal gave him a life.
Yeah.
That's true. Today I got into 3 defensemen, and there's plenty more. There's a huge defensive market right now. The market is defensemen right now, and there's not a whole lot of quality defensemen out there, but there are.
It depends on what you consider a quality defenseman.
I'm going to say there's a lot of 4, 5, 6 defensemen in there. Like some of them are just on the top, bordering on top 4 defensemen, but more like 4, 5, and 6. some guys in there now. Ian Cole is definitely a name that's come up a lot.
Yeah,
we've talked about him over the last couple of days. I think he could get traded today. I mean, I heard very, very clearly that New Jersey did actually try to get Ian Cole, but that was somebody that they went after, and Pittsburgh wanted nothing to do with trading him in the division, which is interesting because the Penguins, I think if I'm New Jersey, I'm like, the Penguins are afraid to trade us Ian Cole. That says something for the Devils right now, I mean, for how far the Devils have come.
Well, listen, I think the Devils are a team now where teams in the Metro who are sort of hanging on should be worried about.
Yeah, I mean, the Ian Cole's got a lot going for him. First of all, his contract is really small. It's $900,000, and then beyond that, the fact that isn't it $900,000, I believe.
No, it's 2.1.
No,
but
maybe a little more than that.
Yeah. Maybe it's a front loaded deal.
I think. Where did I see 900,000? Sorry, I might be thinking of somebody else. It's still 2.1 is still reasonable for what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
Anybody in the top 6 is a $2 million defenseman these days for the most part.
Right.
But the teams but the biggest thing he's got going for him, obviously, is this guy has played in a ton of playoff games, right? And he has tons of playoff experience, which is what everybody wants. Now Buffalo, I've heard mentioned. Now Buffalo's not going to the playoffs, but Buffalo is a team that they are trying to build towards the future. Obviously, they know Ian Cole there. Botterill. They have the connections there, right? They have the connections with Ian Cole. But the teams that really more interest me are Chicago and Edmonton. Now Chicago with Ian Cole makes just a ton of sense in my mind. Like that when I hear that, to me, that's a place I think Ian Cole could go to. Now, if you're Pittsburgh, though, you're afraid to trade him in New Jersey. If you're not afraid to trade him to Chicago,
it's another conference. What do you care?
Other conference, but and I guess the chances of meeting are slim. But I still think if you're the Penguins, you're looking at Chicago like a team that you're gonna have to play, maybe. Possibly. I mean, it depends. Where Chicago.
They were trade partners with the Scuderi. What was it, Trevor Daley deal?
They've made trades before. Edmonton also has talked to him about Ian Cole for sure. There's no question about that one.
I mean, Edmonton's defense. I mean,
they don't need Ian Cole. They have everybody on their team is like Ian Cole,
right?
Except for Clefbaum.
Yeah.
Clefbaum is out. Experience though, Russ. I mean,
Clefbaum is out. Sekera is still out. And if they're interested in Cole, then that might signal that they don't want to rush these guys back. But you're talking about Edmonton right now. I mean, they've won 2 games in a row, but they're right now they're on the precipice of falling out of the race. And maybe they get desperate in the sense that they have to improve now just to stay within striking distance when they get completely healthy or get everything straightened out. I don't know, but
here's a real good name for you with Ian Cole. And that is the Vegas Knights, which some people are talking about now.
Sure, I could see it.
I mean, now if you're Vegas right now and you're looking at yourself as like, we are going to, whether we want to or not, we're looking like we could be in the playoffs. Like this is a team like whether they expected to go that route or not, and they have not. I mean, the amount of playoff experience on that team is so small that they really could use. I mean, if you're looking for like a one shot rental guy, Vegas can go crazy with rentals. Essentially, they really can.
Sure.
Right, yeah. They could, but it also could enable them to move somebody else. I mean, they bring in Cole, somebody who they have confidence in that he could plug in. It's enabled for them to be able to trade somebody else. I mean, earlier this week they signed Braden McNabb to a 4-year contract. And the amount was a little more than what Cole's making right now, $2.5 million. And there's a defenseman who had some playoff experience with the LA Kings, and he's essentially in that range that you were talking about, Ak. He's a 4, 5, 6 defenseman, but they like him. He's played well for them, so they signed him. But they've got so many UFAs that if they do go out for and trade for Cole, it probably opens up the opportunity for them to move other pieces and get something in return for them.
Talking to somebody yesterday about Vegas, the really interesting thing about him, besides, of course, there's such a great story this year, is the fact that when players are going in there, they're loving the environment. They're all talking about how great it was to play there against them. They're home. Obviously, they're killer at home, and whether or not that has anything to do with people just like getting distracted by being in Vegas or not, I can't imagine that does. I really don't buy into that, but people keep saying it does. There's a definitely belief in the hockey world that the Vegas glitz and bright lights.
No, I think it's still a factor a little bit. It's starting to wear off. It didn't affect Dallas, obviously.
But it affected Winnipeg when they had 3 days off there.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah, you see that kind of stuff. I can see that. That's I wouldn't want my team to have 3 days off there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
But players do want to play there. You know, like they have. It's surprisingly you have money. You're gonna have money. You have all these UFAs, like you're saying, Mike. You're good.
Well, didn't they extend McNabb yesterday? Brave
Yeah.
McNabb.
That's what I was just saying.
But did you see the thing that Elliot Friedman had in his 31 thoughts? He talked to McPhee, and McPhee sort of said, well, I'm not talking about anything, but basically you could tell from his tone of voice, because it was a phone conversation, and I'm not relaying this entirely right, that the conversations are going on. Like, I think we're going to see a lot more of these deals coming out there on key guys. You know what I could see, just because you're talking about Vegas, you know who I could see being an interesting player? And I'm saying this because someone's going to hear this and roll their eyes. But if they are actually really in the hunt come the trade deadline and they're still hanging tough where they are, they should completely take a chance on Evander Kane as a rental.
Oh yeah, he's on the rumor chart.
Mike, that's the face I wanted.
Spread out the money, baby.
I don't think George McPhee will do it. I don't.
Buying into this, like, you're way overblowing the Evander Kane money.
No, I'm not. I live in Buffalo, and I've seen what he's done over the last couple of years.
That's not this. I mean, it's not to say the guy can't go in there and do a good job for them. And
sure.
He's trying to make
a place for him, Eck. I agree with that.
Just get him a penthouse.
No, he's on the rumor chart for Vegas. I've heard the name mentioned too. I totally.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing. If you look at the players McPhee has, he has stayed away with players that are rumored to have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, he's built it. He's built it. Go ahead.
But you know, I mean, when you're looking at this team to make a playoff run, there's a couple things that are really important about Vegas, and I love the one thing I like about McPhee, and he's always been. I mean, you hated this in Washington at a point because of where the Capitals were, but you love this in Vegas. He is conservative, very conservative, but he also is one of those guys who does believe in team chemistry, and he's not going to go out and necessarily make trades to just add scoring or whatever. If we're winning now, let's just keep doing what we're doing now. That's more of his theory. But I think defense.
You would get a proven playoff guy, an older guy with 1 year on him, way before Kane.
Yeah,
nothing says conservative and team orientation than Evander Kane.
I know I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but I've heard it talked about. So I'm with Peter. Like I wouldn't necessarily do it, but I've definitely heard it mentioned. And every time and people always start it the same way Peter started his sentence. You're gonna roll your eyes. You're gonna think this is ridiculous, but it's Evander Kane in Vegas. It's possible.
Well, all I know is out of Buffalo, because the talk about Kane. I mean, because the Sabres are done. I mean, right now this season is trashed. And even if they turn it around, they're so far behind. I don't think they can climb back into the playoff race. And people are talking about, okay, what can Botterill and what can Housley do to have some sort of purpose for this season? Get the young guys in there, see what we have, and maybe move out some players that need to be moved out. And since Kane is a UFA at the end of the year and having a good year, you're going to get value for him. They're floating out there already that they're willing to eat 50% of the salary, and that's structured towards those teams that, those contending teams like a Chicago, like a Los Angeles maybe, that are looking for that one scorer.
I'll give you a team. I don't think Nashville will touch him.
Anaheim?
There's no room for him. Where's he going to play?
Yeah,
I know.
Anaheim?
No, I don't think Anaheim. I think Detroit. If Detroit continues to hang around, if you brought in Kane, that could be the offense that they're missing, and it's on a short-term deal, so that would probably be something that Holland would be willing to work with.
And how many times, Peter, have we heard the Evander Kane to Vancouver rumors?
Yeah, it's always there.
It's always there.
I think that's pointless for Vancouver. I think it's
I don't think that fits their DNA.
Right. They have something going right now that's pretty good too, and I think that they're going to stay with that right now. Now on Detroit. Speaking of Detroit, Mike Green's name is out there too, and he's another guy with lots of playoff experience.
And he's having a great year.
That he's part of why Detroit is where they are. The two teams I've heard most connected with Mike Green are Montreal and Edmonton. And now
Edmonton makes perfect sense for him because he's an offensive defenseman, and the loss of Sekera has really crippled their blue line in terms of any offense.
But here's why Montreal might end up getting him. Because it feels like I don't think that by the time Detroit decides to trade Mike Green, Edmonton, I think they would have already gotten a defenseman. I think that Edmonton's not going to wait that long. Like the problem is Detroit staying in the race favors Montreal as we get closer to the deadline, because Montreal can still be there. And it's tricky because they could be trading into the team they're literally battling a playoff spot for, right? So whether or not that's something they're willing to do is a big question. But Edmonton, I think, if for some reason they still haven't gotten their guy at the deadline, that Green's possible. But
well,
right now it's not going to happen.
I don't know how much of the motivate. Everybody says, well, maybe the wing, if the Wings stay in the race, maybe they don't trade Green because they'll be in a playoff race and they want to fill the seats at the new building. I've seen a few games at that new building. There are not a lot of seats that are being filled. So I really don't think that that he is arguably the best rental defenseman in this market. I think he's a lot better than Ian Cole, and there are a few other UFAs out there. But he's in the top 5 in scoring among defensemen.
Yeah,
and I think he could be a difference maker for a team that looking for that one blue liner. But he's a $6 million cap it. That's the other thing you have to worry about.
Detroit could take money. I mean, there's a lot that Detroit could take money to get a better draft pick out of this or something really strong. Like this could be like a first round draft pick for the Reds. And if they keep some salary, this could turn out to be a really big move for them.
This is just a speculation and not anything that I've heard because I don't hear anything usually, but Washington is so short on defense, and Green played in Washington before. How much sense would that make about him going back to Washington?
It does make sense. And I think that he's actually a different defenseman than he was when he was in Washington.
Yes,
which is interesting too. So talking to people, I think that along those lines, I've also heard maybe this is the guy McPhee goes for because McPhee and Green go way back. So
it's too short term for career wise. How many years does Mike Green have left like this? 3?
No, but if you're looking at, you need to get some experience.
Yeah, but you could do it in other ways. You shouldn't get like a guy who's at the tail end of his career.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like
like Mike said, he's the top 5 defensive scorer right now. That's not tail end of his career right now.
Yeah,
but you're looking at he's got 3 years left probably.
Yeah, but and Vegas is not going to get. I mean, okay. If they make deals to try to get in the playoffs, the one thing that they're really not going to trade are future assets because yes, they want to get in the playoffs. Yes, it would be a great story, but they also can't forget the long-term goal, which is building a franchise. And right now, they picked in the expansion draft a lot of guys who were short-term guys who could put up a good year, and a lot of people thought that was the reason they did that is so they could flip them. Yeah, if they can get them in the playoffs, that's great. But the problem is they're still going to keep their draft picks. They're still going to build the way that you expect them to build. So I don't see them giving up assets for a Mike Green.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but that's the big debate. Is it really the best thing for the Knights to make the playoffs?
But you can't stop them if they.
So it is a wonderful thing in a lot of ways. It is embarrassing to teams. Like it's really think about how embarrassing it is.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of mad owners. There's no doubt.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really embarrassing to Arizona to look where they are right now and look where Vegas is. I mean, these are two teams. We're bringing in a natural rivalry, and the natural rivalry just surpasses them immediately.
I think Vinny Viola should be pissed off beyond belief that they gave up a 30-goal score in March or so for basically nothing to the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, that was
a 30-goal score to his former coach, who was doing a hell of a lot more than what Bodner does. And
that's the thing. I think it's the coaching thing more than the player. I do.
Yeah, I mean, Florida just made such bad decisions.
That whole thing with when it went down
in Carolina with Gallant,
with Florida with Gallant. I never understood. Like, there was no really good explanation other than there was sort of like a divide between what ownership and management wanted to be done, and that's it, and how they handled it. And it was like
there was never an explanation.
It is so weird.
It was the Dale Talon side of things and the other side of things that was happening.
But the Dale Talon side of things at that point were powerless. It was part of
it. That's the point.
What was the other guy's name?
Connected to Talon.
Tom Rowe.
It
It was the analytics aficionados running the Florida Panthers and the ownership that bought in with them, and they overruled the hockey people led by Dale Talon. And now you see everything that Dale Talon is doing is undoing everything that the analytics group did last year.
I do have breaking news.
Go ahead.
Derek Dorsett is retired from the NHL. Okay, now you can resume regular programming.
Well, I've got to go post.
Actually, I'd heard that already, Russ, and I have an interesting Dorsett story that I heard.
He just announced it today, Peter. So whatever you heard was hearsay. No, I'm kidding.
Go ahead,
No,
Peter.
tell the story. Go ahead.
No. The interesting about Dorsett was I heard this on the radio today when I was coming back home. He actually had an opportunity to go play NCAA, and he was going to do an exhibition game with the Red Deer Rebels. And his parents asked Sutter for guaranteed ice time because this is what he was going to give up.
Right.
Sutter, they came in, he did it. They wouldn't do it. Sutter, boom, turfed him. I'm giving a really Cole's Notes version of the story. Apparently, got in the old beat up dad's truck that his dad gave him, drove 5 hours south, went down to Medicine Hat to the Medicine Hat Tigers, walked up to Willie Desjardins and said, I'm the guy who's going to come in and kick your rival's butt. And what happened that year? They turfed Red Deer in the first round, and then they went on. He played with a broken hand through the playoffs, and they went to the WHL championship. Kind of a neat story.
Such a classic Western Canadian hockey.
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah, and he
That's beautiful. It's a beautiful.
And
thing.
he basically was a fourth liner most of his career, but this year with this what do you have, like 8 goals, Russ? He was scoring like crazy.
He did. He was somewhere close to that. He was scoring like crazy.
It really is a shame. I mean, when they came into Philly,
players loved him. They did.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's a sad story, but that's an.
It's because of health reasons. That is the reason.
But that's an amazing story. I love that here. The other name I heard was that is kind of there's two other names that are out there that we haven't really talked much about for a while, but need to be mentioned a little bit, and they are Andre Markov and Jerome McKinley. Who?
Why should we talk about Andre Markov?
We have to because he believes, I think, that he's coming back to the NHL. Now,
he's his own agent. He's not a very good source.
Well,
I'm not talking to him.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying just the whole situation. He's a little nutty.
No, he's very nutty, and Montreal is not going to be an option because Montreal really is not like that. He wasn't happy with the way that went down.
Well, this is the thing that's ironic. He goes back to the KHL purportedly to play in the Olympics, and now the KHL is probably not. At least the Russians are not going to go to the Olympics. The Hockey Canada and a couple other countries requested their players, but with all this stuff going on with the IIHF and the IOC and the KHL, it's up in the air right now. And that's the thing. The whole purpose of him to go back to Russia was to qualify for the Olympics.
It's a cruel twist of fate.
Yeah. So before February 26th, is it possible if he has
that maybe that wasn't really his whole purpose of going back to Russia?
Well, but
that's a really convenient thing.
Money was a good reason.
Money was right, exactly. But the thing is, if there is a convenient out in his contract, if there's an out in his contract where he can go, where he can go back to the NHL, then you're right. The possibility of him coming back and jumping in with a team makes a lot of sense. And I'll tell you, because I'm going to write about this for my column today. The fact that the Leafs did not get in on Vatanen proves to me that right now Lou Lamoriello is not interested in trading for a top 4 defenseman. I think he's more in the rental market. He's more in stopgap mode, getting somebody like an Erica Branson from Vancouver, or maybe getting Andre Markov from the KHL, bringing him in for 1 year and buying himself a little time until young guys like Travis Dermott or their first round pick from this year, Timothy Liljegren, get ready enough for the NHL to move in. Otherwise, it makes no sense that they didn't trade for Vatanen because the price was so reasonable.
Vatanen is not the kind of player that I would think they would be trading for, to be honest.
The problem is with the Leafs, nobody has term, and Anaheim, I guess, was looking for a little term because all of a sudden their system got a little short when they had a few injuries.
That's why I said Connor Brown was the fit, not a Bozak or a JVR, because Connor Brown has got term.
Here's the thing with Markov. Who's the last player who did one of these things. Oh, maybe I'll come back. It was Matt Sundin at that age.
Oh boy,
right?
Yeah.
And we all know how well that worked out. If
Good
you
job,
honestly,
Peter.
you honestly want Markov, you need him back now.
Yeah.
And because if you want him to do something in January or February, he's going to need conditioning and practicing and fitting in the odd games until he can get up to speed. I don't question the guy's fitness. He's a
playing in the KHL.
But when you're not playing,
I won't waive my no trade clause because I want to stay with the Maple Leafs, Matt Sundin.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, give me a break.
The show's going to take a turn, Peter. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, am I wrong about the statistics that I got from Markov that he is playing in the KHL right now?
No, I believe he is.
Yeah, is he playing? I thought he wasn't playing right now.
No, he is playing in KHL. He's making $8.5 million. In fact, I was told
tax free.
In the KHL, but he has 2 goals and 3 assists in the year, and has not a single goal even strength, something like that. So it's something really.
According to Hockey DB, he's playing with Akbar's Kazan.
Right.
In 36 games, he has 4 goals and 14 assists.
4 goals.
That's pretty.
I don't think any of them are even strength. There's something. There's something. His goals are, or all of his goals are power play goals, or something like that.
Yeah, he's third. He's third on the team or fourth on the team in scoring. But right now, the team leader is Yuri Sekash, who basically did nothing in the NHL when he was here.
Here's food for thought. Do we trust the KHL stats?
Yeah. that's totally legit. No.
Well, do we? No, what it is do we trust the like? It's sort of like the like statistics from the Japanese league when it comes to a pitcher or a hitter. Is there a good comparative? Maybe not.
It's a darn good question. I don't know. I don't know where to put that exactly. It's a really good question. I wanted to do a little bit of rumor charting today before we get out of here because we are celebrating that today here at HockeyBuzz because it's a fun day for us. So I'm going to bring up some names for the rumor chart to give you guys a little bit of a preview of what's happening. So let me bring up like 3 or 4 names here. Let's see, where should we go? Maybe we'll go Jarmelson, Nugent-Hopkins, and Eric Gudbranson. Talk about that.
Okay.
Let's go Brad Richardson, Jarmelson, and Nugent-Hopkins, since we just talked about Gudbranson yesterday a lot. All right, so here we go. I'm going to bring this up on the screen here. The rumor chart is, like I said, it's on HockeyBuzz. It is something that helps support the site, so we really do appreciate anything you can do with it. Here's 3 names for you guys. Let's see. So let's see if I can fix this. So crazy. All right, so Brad Richardson, another name that keeps coming up. A really interesting player, another UFA. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, I mean, he's like one of those guys who will definitely get moved because he's playing for Arizona.
Yeah.
And anybody who's not tied down in Arizona is going to get moved because they're looking to get future assets. I mean, right now he's only got 5 points in 25 games, but he's one of these 3rd, 4th line veteran guys, but probably can play on the penalty kill, good checker. So, Arizona's not going to get a ton for him, but I think he'll get moved before the deadline.
He's the kind of guy though that usually is the trade deadline that usually helps the team at trade deadline. Like he is the trade deadline prototypical 3rd, 4th liner that you don't have to give up much for, that comes in and that we talk about as like one of the better moves that no one really saw coming. Like I see Brad Richardson as that kind of guy. He could very much, if you put him in the right situation on the right team, he definitely helps the 3rd or 4th line. Like say he ends up in Tampa. I mean, I don't have Tampa on here because I haven't heard him mention Tampa, but I'm just saying certain team that's going far. St. Louis is a good one. That he's on there.
Yeah. He's forward.
Ottawa, perhaps. Columbus, I could see. Columbus is like a team that could really. Brad Richardson might.
Yeah, he's quality veteran forward depth, and that's basically.
Yeah. So and then Nick Jarmelson we've talked about quite a bit. Really seems to be I love when it comes. I love whenever I get whenever it's just Toronto and Montreal battling for a player. But this is what it feels like with this.
I think other teams would take him too, obviously.
Yeah, I honestly, and this is just based on their track record. I think you have to put Chicago on that list because Chicago always trades for the guys that they trade away, and we know how pissed off Quenneville was at the draft when they traded Jarmelson. And if they,
I think you could add Chicago to the list.
Yep.
I tried. I mean, I talked to people in Chicago, and they said no. They said that it was basically at this point they there have been some players they've brought back. Obviously, they have brought back a few, and they haven't worked out so well for them right now in their mind. So
now Toronto does make sense in the sense that he's a veteran defenseman. He's got Stanley Cup experience. He's not locked up on a long-term deal. He's got another year left at I think $4.1 million or something like that. That would fit into their scheme of buying time until the young guys are there, and they have extra draft picks next year, so that probably would add up. And I think Arizona is going to start dumping probably around January.
Yep.
Would Edmonton take a chance and go down that road?
They might.
Yep. They could. I mean, they would have players, I think, that would fit in well with them if they wanted to. I mean, I think that, the next guy on the list there, Nugent-Hopkins, is a really fascinating one. The Nugent-Hopkins it's so funny. Like, the press on Nugent-Hopkins is all over the map, like from month to month. Like, it seems like Canadian media, when I follow, they love him or hate him like month to month. Right now, they seem to love him again for some reason. This is like lately, Nugent-Hopkins is like, oh, he's a great two-way player, and he's really come into his own. And so
I have Nugent-Hopkins labeled as a draft trade, and not right now, because remember the salary of Draisaitl kicks in now, but the salary of McDavid doesn't kick in until next year.
Right.
So right now they don't have to move him. And their depth up the middle is one of their only consistent strengths. If you put Draisaitl as your number 2 and you have the matchup problem of having Nugent-Hopkins as your number 3, that's one of the few things that could get them back in the race. But I don't know if I see them trading him now because I don't think they'd get the return that they want for him.
But I do believe like the Rangers and Philly are interested.
Sure.
Yeah. And the challenge right now is McClellan has been reluctant to play Draisaitl in center.
Yeah.
And he wants him on the wing. And this is one of those other things that's getting questioned in Edmonton too, is what is McClellan doing when Draisaitl can play center, but he often wants him with McDavid.
Then he should have talked with Peter Chiarelli and told him not to sign him for $8.5 million, because the whole purpose of signing him for that much was to lock up a number 2 center.
Because you have the best number 1.
Right.
Look, Draisaitl will be around a lot longer than McClellan. Let's face it.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, there you have. There's a couple names on the rumor chart. The Flyers are definitely interested, like for all the reasons we talked about the other day. The Couturier thing, for as good as it's been, like I said before, and I've written about now a couple times, it's been a great thing. But they did lose their best checking forward by making him their best scoring forward.
No, but they have to leave him there. But the point is,
they do. One-line team. Defensively, they're really suffered from it.
Yeah, and they're a one-line team. They do need to add something.
Yeah, Philly's got such a bounty of defense in so many aspects, prospects or whatever. I mean, Giroux. Look, who doesn't love Claude Giroux? But I don't love him at a salary anymore. And
he's fine. He's having a good year. It's okay.
But they need to address this issue that's coming with their forward group.
Well, I think they will, but the problem is it's like too much pitching in baseball. You do get injuries, and then all of a sudden you wish you didn't trade a guy.
Yeah. Right? But but they've got a lot of defense. Like, it's a logjam.
Not for guys that are completely ready. That's the thing. Yeah. It's not a logjam for that.
Yeah, they haven't pushed Sanheim into the NHL. They're giving them.
Sanheim's playing.
Yeah. Right, but I mean they didn't throw him into the fire. It was another thing.
That's true. Yes. And Morin's not ready, so like there's no real other logjam. There's other kids down below, but they probably need another year or two. Other guys that, and I can name them later, but like Friedman and whatever, they're not ready.
But to your point, Nick, I think of going back to the draft with Nugent-Hopkins, I think there's a strong reason that Hextall and Chiarelli should talk about they should be talking, and it doesn't have to happen now, but those are obvious partners for a lot of different reasons. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean it adds up to anything, but there's some reasons that I think they should be talking.
Right, but there's no purpose for being desperate on the part of the Flyers, because I've said this the last couple of days. The Flyers, I don't think they're selling their fans a bill of goods, but they should have been more honest with their fans. This is a team in transition. This is a team that right now their number 1 goaltender of the future is playing in the WHL. He's not playing. He's not playing. He's not playing in Philadelphia. It's not Brian Elliott. It's not Michael Neuvirth. It's Carter Hart. Their defense. They've got a lot of young defensemen who 1 or 2 years from now are going to be really, really good, but they're developing right now. And the fact that they think this team, as they're currently constituted, could make the playoffs is just not right.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing.
They got a great pick in Nolan Patrick last year. Okay. Mm-hmm. No question about that. But they were a lottery team last year. And Nolan Patrick was not the kind of player that was going to take you and do what Austin Matthews did or Connor McDavid did.
Right.
No, but I don't think they were expecting that either.
No, but I think some people believe that with the people like Giroux, Couturier, Simmons, Gostisbehere, Provorov. There's a lot of good talent on that team.
There is some good talent. I think I've had a chance to really think about this. I think ultimately, because Hextall's so close to the situation and is a prospect guy at heart that felt like he would get more out of some of these guys than they're giving, and that's why he thinks they're a playoff team and they're not.
Right. Yeah, I think that's kind of true. And I think maybe he did rush them a little bit in his mind too. I think part of his fear is I think part of his patience aspect is that he believes that maybe he would have liked to give these guys one more year before they came in, but
yeah, it's always good to have high expectations, but not unrealistic expectations.
No, but here's an example. Here's unrealistic. So preseason, people were saying, hey, Philippe Myers, he could play at the NHL level because he's big and he's strong. He got hurt again in preseason, but he's playing in Lehigh, and he's got 7 points in 14 games. That's not enough to get called up. He probably needs this year and maybe even next year. He's only 20 years old.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. A couple questions from the YouTube channel I wanted to get to today real quickly before we go.
Okay.
One of them, so yesterday, one directed towards us, there a mistake that I made, which is really funny. So Basement SOTC, don't know what that all means, but hopefully it's nothing terrible. Says the Predators fans were chanting Forsberg, you suck, to Anton Forsberg, who is a net for the Blackhawks. I know that. Sorry, I was just someone texted me. Wow, I can't believe the Predators fans are chanting Forsberg.
And the Predators fans are right. He does.
And they were right. Well, no, he doesn't always suck. He's actually. I like.
Just kidding.
But I think he has.
Wait, are you telling me he's having a good year? Is that what you're saying?
Well, he has his moments. Right? So, but anyway, that I thought was pretty funny because we were yesterday. We're like, why are they getting on, Forsberg? And I was giving them credit for wanting more of a, of a hard, expecting more from their players. It's just, that, okay, they were going after Anton Forsberg. So anyway.
Anton Forsberg, 3.67 goals against, .904 save percentage, 1 win in 5 starts.
Yeah, that's barely an NHLer right there.
Looked great in the win. Sorry, I watched most of that game. I was like, really, this guy could be really good. Evan Young, who comments quite a bit. We appreciate Evan. The idea that Moran, we're talking about the Flyers again, defenseman who the Flyers sent up back against the Myers, isn't ready is ridiculous to me. He's more ready than Sanheim was at the beginning of the season. He's
not ready.
He continues. He's exactly the kind of player they need, so Hextall can stop trying to force Manning into a role as a key stopper in the final 2 minutes.
Well, here's the thing: is Manning a great defenseman? No. Will Manning make less mistakes than Moran? Yes. Will Moran be more physical? Sure. But the problem is Moran can only play the left side. He's very limited. He's a straight line skater, and you're looking to put him in there essentially to beat up people. Like, this is what everybody wants him in there for. The Flyers want him to be better than that. He needs more games. It's just a situation where he needs more games. Regardless if you think he's close isn't good enough. And then Flyers are right by sending him back.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I'm sort of in between you guys on this one. I'm not quite with Russ on this, but I'm not quite with you either. I think that there are moments when he's looked kind of slow, but at the same time, I do think that they could use him in the moment you're talking about, like killing penalties or the final couple minutes of the game where you're trying to clear somebody out in front. It was obviously Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was going to score, like I said the other night, that goal in the final because they had nobody to clear out anybody in the front.
Here's the other problem, though, Eck, and this is something that's real. Like, he only played 2 games with the Flyers, right? He had 4 PIMs. In 11 games with Lehigh, he has 22 PIMs. Like, he is going to take some bad penalties. He is.
But that's okay because the intimidation.
Is it? I mean, the way things are right now, is it okay? I don't know.
People to be afraid to go in front of the net, like you'll take a couple penalties because I'm okay with that.
How many young defensemen can you play at once?
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's Hextall's point. That's what Hextall's trying to say.
It is a good point.
The question is, which of those young defensemen should be playing? And I think that's Evan's point, which I think is the big thing. Like, is Moran?
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Well, who do you want? Do you want Sam Moran to be a good temporary fix, or do you want to give Travis Sanheim real minutes because you know in the future he's a better all-around guy? Like, what do you want? Who do you want to benefit here? That's what you have to ask yourself the question.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, so Papin on the comment board says, "Man, I love your comment, Mike. I love your commentary. Very knowledgeable. Congrats on being a longtime suffering Leafs fan. I'm in the same boat now, and now we finally get a chance to watch the Leafs with some confidence. I watched you on Steve Dangle's podcast. Great stuff." So that's to Mike.
Appreciate that.
Say, Mike, what the hell are you doing on Steve Dangle's podcast?
Steve Dangle's been on our podcast.
Kidding. He's fine.
He's a friend of the show.
I felt like I discovered that you were cheating on me when I read this. I'm like, wait a second.
No, it was
he's a great friend of the show, and he's a good guy.
Then you better not pay attention to me because I'm cheating a lot, man.
Then Russ Cohen is the Bill Clinton of the Hockey Buzzcast.
We're actually you actually been doing that before you did this. So to me, that's
Sure.
that podcast. So there's a lot. Evan definitely has some. Evan has another comment on Moran from the other day.
We better end the show quickly, We're going
to end the show quickly now. So Evan, thanks so much. You comment on the YouTube channel below. Please subscribe. Tell your friends, and also do us a favor if you can, and you get a chance to go to patreon.com/hockey and support the site. More of you guys are doing that once in a while, and it's really nice. It really appreciates it. It lifts our spirits. And also remember the rumor chart later today when it comes out. That also is very, very important to the website, and I hope you like it. Now, when I get off this at about 4:30, so in about 15 minutes, check back on HockeyBuzz.com on the rumor section. I'm going to be putting people up all the time, so you'll get a chance to see a lot of names for free in that period of time. So that's a little hint for you guys, and only you guys. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow.